Well, the first sermon that is preached after a holiday, of course, is a story about one's family. So, a story about my in-laws to begin my sermon. My in-laws are generous, good, God-fearing people. Most Sundays, they attend worship in person at the church where they live in Beaver Dam, and then they even hop online to worship with us virtually, to see their daughter play violin, or their son-in-law preach, or their grandchildren run around a microphone. My in-laws don't criticize. They have attended more meaningless kids' sports games or mediocre recitals or uninspiring musicals. They go to these things constantly, never criticize or complain. They would have come to church this morning if I had told them there'd be a track meet. They just say, tell us when it is, and we'll be there. And then they arrive about 30 minutes late with their Subaru filled with sleeping bags and knitting needles and 8 or 9 reusable water bottles and thermoses filled with tea and coffee and enough supplies to make it through a nuclear holocaust. When they come to our house, I'll look out the front window at them and they just sit in the car, almost resting. And I'll say, Holly, should we go invite them in? And Holly will say, no. They have a lot to unpack. They need to rest first. My in-laws and I have never done Bible study together. We don't really discuss preaching. They probably think every sermon I preach is just fine. They don't criticize. But if we did study the Bible, or maybe this sermon, I think they would be a bit upset by Jesus' packing instructions today. This morning, Jesus sends his followers out on a journey, and he says, as you all did, carry no purse, no bag, no sandals, no knitting needles, no CPAP machine. You just got to go. Jesus even tells us not to greet anyone who's on the road. This isn't out of unfriendliness, but out of urgency. There's no time to waste. No time for Minnesota goodbyes even. You just got to go. But what if you forget something? What if you're 25 miles down the road and you realize that the forecast could be a little chilly and maybe you didn't pack long pants, or bug spray, or tick repellent, or enough water bottles? Maybe you should turn around. Or even worse, what if you're driving away permanently, leaving behind the place where you once lived, and you realize that as the estate is being sold, and with everything inside it, somewhere in the basement, folded up, was that table that you used to eat on with your grandmother when you were a child, that your own grandchildren ate on with you. And now it's up for sale, and some sick stranger is probably going to purchase it and do something with it, maybe even refinish it. You just gotta go? No. You have to turn around. You have to pause the auction, call it off, take a few weeks or months or years. You don't want to make the wrong decision. You should just take your time. Take your time. Well, as a preacher, this morning I pay special attention to Jesus' instructions for what should be proclaimed out on the mission field. It's a preaching class from Jesus. One would maybe expect an erudite sermon that includes some lofty philosophical references and some folksy, relatable storytelling, all woven together in a 15-minute speech that challenges and delights and moves the listener. So we all have a front seat to Jesus' preaching class today, and here are his instructions for what should be preached. Peace to you. That's it. Peace to you. And you bow, maybe. Peace to you. The kingdom of God has come near. That's it. A few months ago, last month, I went out to dinner with someone. I'm always a little bashful about inviting people to worship at the church that I attend or preach at. Enough about me. What do you think of my sermon? I don't want to be like that. That's your job to invite people here. But this person I was having dinner with expressed interest in church. She had opinions. So I invited her. I said, why don't you come out to Excelsior sometime for church? She said, that probably won't happen. I said, why? She said, well, how long are your sermons? I felt good about this. They're not that long, I said. 12, 15 minutes maybe. Not long enough, she said. I'm not driving all the way out to Excelsior unless you preach for 30 minutes. So I don't think she would have been pleased with Jesus' preaching class or the disciples' short sermons. Peace to you. The kingdom of God has come near. It's not 30 minutes. It's not even 30 seconds. But it's as if Jesus realizes how insufficient this sermon would be. It won't work. It's not enough, we'd say. And Jesus would agree. You're right, he'd say. It won't work all the time. Okay, so then you're going to give us something better that will work, right? No, I'm just going to tell you what to do when it doesn't work. Something to convince everyone, right? No, I'm just going to tell you to wipe the dust off from your feet and go on to the next person and announce my peace to them. Because there's no time to waste. You just got to go. Wouldn't we all like a better plan than this? Wouldn't it feel safer to be well equipped, to have some sort of special training or certification, some talking points? Jesus doesn't give us any of these. He just says, you got to go. You got to go. So we are sheep among wolves. This isn't going to work. We're going to get devoured. It's not going to work. We should have packed more things. But I think there's a funny little difference between our planning and strategizing and God's. You all probably do a lot of planning and strategizing in your lives, thinking about what to do with your parents, what to do with your children, what to do with your career, work for this many more years, secure this much money, go here, move here, learn how to do this. You're looking forward, you're planning. We're doing this a lot at our church here. There are good decisions we could make for this church. There are bad decisions we could make for this church. We could avoid making decisions, which is a decision. And all of these decisions, or indecisions, will have a lot to do with the strength and vitality and future of this church. And the same thing is true for you and your own lives. What you decide to do is important. Whether you work hard or not, save money or not, whether you treat people well or not, exercise or not, get clean or not, pray or not, all of this will make a difference. It'll determine whether you flower or whether you get devoured. So we live and act amidst overwhelming, endless decisions, contingencies. But then we hear Jesus' announcement, which is just a statement of fact, something that is already settled. It's breaking news, and we can ignore it or deny it at our own peril. Peace to you. the kingdom of God has come near. You don't need to pretty it up or put it on a cake. I guess you could just turn to the person who's sitting right next to you and say it. Peace to you. The kingdom of God has come near. And I think they'd look at you kind of funny. Because it's a strange thing to say, especially when you're talking about more appropriate things like your grandchildren or your parents or where you're moving or paint color or carpet samples. But if you announce this, you sort of put all those other things in perspective. Little tiny decisions that are so small next to the good news of Jesus Christ. The kingdom of God has come near. You announce this, it'll change everything. The kingdom of God has come near. Maybe these words will fall out of your mouth and into another person as you're around the home, getting ready to enjoy a meal or embrace someone. The kingdom of God has come near. And you'll realize this is it. This taste, this touch, this is what life is about. The kingdom of God has come near. Or maybe this message will resound in your own mind. The kingdom of God has come near. As you find yourself taking out your checkbook or tapping your credit card somewhere to transform the life of another person or another community. Because when the kingdom of God has come near, what does $500 or $5,000 or $500,000 really matter? The kingdom of God has come near. The kingdom of God has come near. Or maybe you will be fortunate enough in your last days of life to hear this in your mind on a loop. The kingdom of God has come near. And you'll find yourself remembering things you'd forgotten, utterly astounded at the way that God has been near to you all along and how close you are to God right now. The kingdom of God has come near. It's like everything is enchanted, more than we accounted for. It's a little spooky. The kingdom of God has come near. But it's not as spooky as the last verse in our reading today. Ben is a very nice guy. I was wondering how he was going to handle it. He just moved through it pretty quickly. The people who sit in ivory towers who tell us the verses that we should read in service on Sundays, they're very tolerant, kind people. So they recommend that you not include verse 12, because verse 12 is a warning. It says, I tell you on that day, it will be more tolerable for Sodom than for that town who has rejected the peace of God, that town who has rejected the announcement of the coming of the kingdom of God. That's scary. Sodom is that town that burned up back in Genesis 18. That was scary when I was little, but now that I'm older, I don't really believe in fires like that. They don't scare me. But you know what does scare me? You know what sounds like hell on earth? Dragging your feet, waiting and waiting, never deciding, packing and repacking, constantly worrying that you've forgotten something or lost something or lack something, instead of welcoming the peace, the good news that is in our midst right now. The kingdom of God has come near. We got to go.